to. And this question is for Catherine and perhaps Amy as well. As small businesses trying to break into selling a service or product into larger companies, that's a longer-term challenge, and it's a tough challenge. What are some of the key success factors to making that work, and what level of investment would be necessary for a firm to come to the table prepared to have?
Good question. And Catherine, or?
I will answer the first part of the question, which is that it is a long-term or a longer process. And I appreciate you mentioning that, because there is what I would call a sales myth and when you're going into large companies, and that is that there is one key person to get to. The fact is that most multinationals are organized along particular lines of business or product lines. So you may have, under a brand name, 10 to 15 different businesses, and therefore 10 to 15 different potential clients for you. So I would suggest that you want to plan probably a multi-pronged strategy of entry into large corporations, understanding their structures, and then you want to give yourself time to move through and influence all of those people who would in fact be impacted by a decision to retain you or to hire your firm. For example, in an eRolePlay's case, they offer a learning and development service. And that is aimed at the customer experience. And there are different customers within banks, obviously, within the different lines of business. But the people who would be hiring a company like eRolePlay may be the implementation group, like the learning and development team, or it may be the head of the customer service in retail. So you're starting to get the picture of the complexity. That goes to the amount of time you're going to need, probably 18 to 24 months, to get all of those people be identified in front of, get yourself in front of them, and have a chance to understand their view of the problem, as well as get your case built for the value you're going to get. In terms of the investment, I would suggest that it's about the same as hiring a full-time salesperson who is experienced at key account or major account development. Does that answer your question?
And then Carissa, you wanted to respond?
Yeah.
And then the minister?
I have an interesting perspective on this right now, because we've just launched what we've called the North American Tour to inspire entrepreneurs, and we have 5 corporate partners that are part of that tour. So we have Research in Motion Limited, Staples Business Depot, Citi Credit Cards Canada, Intuit Canada, and Rogers Cable Division. So 5 of the major corporations in Canada have come on board to sponsor, essentially, to work with us. And we're doing a lot of work with each of those 5 companies, thinking about their small business strategies, how they market to and talk to small business owners. So we've developed quite complex relationships with 5 major corporations in about 3 months. So certainly I would agree that in general it is a long cycle, and there's a lot of tough pieces to getting into the right person and then carrying through that relationship. But I think the reason that it's worked so quickly and so easily for us is a couple of things that we've learned. One is that we were very strategic about who we approached each of those companies. So before I made a phone call, I had done a lot of research on what the company was doing, who in the company was championing different parts of their strategy. And so when I called or when I emailed someone, and all of them were cold calls, the person that I called, I had already done a lot of research on. So when I was talking to them, I knew a little bit about who they were and what they were doing. The second thing that I think worked for us is that we went to them with an offer, not an ask. And I think that that's really important. We had thought a lot about at Silver Lining what we could do for Staples, what we had to offer them. The fact that we work with small businesses around North America all the time, and they want to reach small businesses, we could bring that to the table. We could bring a big database of entrepreneurs. We could bring the knowledge that we had from working in the segment, in the small business market for 4 years. We could bring those things to them, which resulted in me being able to go to executives in these 5 companies with an offer first. And then the ask got to come after they said, that's interesting. What you have is valuable to us. Let's talk about how we can access it. So I really think that when you're working with large corporations, we've built long-term contracts and successful contracts with 5 in the last literally 4 months from start to finish. And the reason that I think, again, it's been that way is we were clear about who to talk to before we got there. We went in with an offer instead of an ask, and we were very strategic. We didn't call every corporation in Canada. We called the ones that we thought were truly invested in and interested in thinking differently about how to reach small businesses. So we were very clear about who we were talking to before we even picked up the phone.
Thank you. Minister?
Yeah, I think some very good points have already been made. I just want to mention how the government sometimes can help. What we have done is we have arranged the buyer and seller forums. So what we did is we brought in the large corporations like the Canadian Tire, like the Walmart, and also we did it with Home Depot. We asked them that we will bring the small companies together, and they should bring their buyers there so that they can look at some of the products of these companies. And these firms have been very successful, and some of these companies actually then were introduced to their US partners, and some of these companies got very, very large orders from them. It took a little bit of time, but it helped them. You know, their president came in, for the Home Depot's president came in, she brought the buyers with her. They actually told them how they buy the stuff, and then they went around and looked at the booths. And then they were quite impressed with some of the very innovative products that they could not have otherwise found, that they found right in one place. And as a result, they were able to get some contracts. The small businesses were able to get contracts, and I think they got good suppliers.